Oops. Here's our room. Here's our bathroom. We are in South Haven, Michigan for a weekend. This is our room. Sorry if it's a little messy. There's one bed. There's two. It's a very, very good looking room. I'm happy to be here for a little while. Gonna be here for the next couple of days. I've never known that a hotel has a Keurig before, but that's quite funny. But here's my hotel room. There's gonna be a couple of vlogs and a few odds and ends of this trip. So here's to South Haven.
I thought, man, I should have got nachos. Isn't that boat cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't wait to go on it. I can't come soon enough, but then again, I can't wait because then vacation will be over.
Went swimming today. Was fun.
They're probably good. They're always probably the whole time we're here. Every time we come use the bathroom.
Oops, let's
Now what are you doing? Give me your code. I'll release it. You won't be able to get on the boat. Come on, sell it somewhere. Andy, you like that boat?
This is a museum. What?
Must have decided to divert off of his quest line at 157.
Minutes after that, he told Chicago he was heading south. Harbor mid-action reduces altitude to 2,500 feet.
He didn't say what.
4501 past the shoreline.
What do we think of when we think of dry goods?
Flower.
Flour, this is a good thing. Fabrics, aha. The only people who could buy pre-made clothing, like we go to the store today and buy a suit, the only people who could afford to do that in 1810 were the very wealthy, the one percenters. The ladies of the household, for everybody else, made their clothing. If you're sewing, have you ever tried to sew without a needle? Yes, that iron needle is kind of important, isn't it? Do any of you have a garden? Have any of you ever tried to plow or till a field without iron tools? Yes. Yes? A wooden shovel is a great device, isn't it? Now, for all you working adults and parents, what about coffee? Do any of you hunt? What about firearms, powder, and shot? Yep. This was all the material that is coming west. This was the wild, wild west. We were still a territory. This is still the frontier. What about beverages? Beer, whiskey, and wine. We have a couple of cargo manifests from the original boat. Up to 2/3 of his cargo for Sunset would have been barrels of beer and whiskey. Think about it. This was not just drunken revelry. Your water sources were not super filtered and pure. You would actually use whiskey and wine and even beer to dilute your water to make sure that it was sanitary to drink. So these are the goods going westbound. He was shipping from Buffalo, New York to Detroit, Michigan. Now, he was going south along the banks. Anybody have a guess as to how long that would have taken him in an ox cart? With no roads? About 3 months. Does that sound like an efficient trip? Anybody want to guess why he didn't go straight across? Do you read very well, sir? Yes, yes. Can you read this for me? Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls. I have yet to meet an ox that can swim the falls pulling a cart. That's why he went the southern route. Now, if you're operating a business and you're moving goods, 3 months to move one cargo. That's just one direction. You never move your cargo container empty. So coming back, there's another 3 months. Does that sound like an efficient way to operate? Does it sound profitable? So he realized he needs to do something better. His best option, being on this very large body of water, is a boat. The three big options at the time would have been a brig, a schooner, or a sloop. A brig is a large square-rigged vessel, 2-mast. We're going to say she would have carried about 100 ox cart loads of goods. She also would have used 15 to 20 men. The people you have, the more people we have aboard, crew-wise, the more operating expense we have, right? So if we're a small-time operation, do we need that much? Nah. His next option then is a schooner, smaller, say carrying 30 to 50 ox cart loads of goods. 10 to 12 people. If it was a big schooner, 8 or 10 people. If it was a middle-sized boat, still a little bit not cost effective for him. So he decides on the sloop, the topsail sloop, like the one that we're going to be on this evening, crew of 4 plus a captain, carrying 10 ox cart loads of stuff. The trip from Buffalo to Detroit is now 3 to 7 days. Remember, we never move empty, right? Keep that in your mind. He's actually so efficient that the U.S. government decides to contract him to carry goods to Fort Dearborn. Do any of us know where Fort Dearborn is? Chicago. Fort Dearborn was the origins of Chicago. At this point, it was a settlement of about 30 people. But there's a military fort there, so the Army is still providing for it. So 3 to 7 days to here, we're going to call it a simple week. A week up Huron to Mackinac. A week from Mackinac to Dearborn. 3 weeks, one direction, right? What was that rule about our cargo container? Never move it empty. Moving it empty costs you money. Moving it full makes you money. What is he picking up coming east with after he delivers his goods? Furs, pelts. Have any of us seen Alice in Wonderland? Yep. Yeah. Who is the crazy guy?
Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter. Why is the Hatter mad?
Mercury.
Suffering from mercury poisoning. The hatting industry that was making these felted hats, these lovely top hats that the gentlemen were wearing, used fumigated mercury to strip the hair off the pelts to make these felt blanks. The hatters working with this actually suffer from mercury poisoning because of it. The center for the fur trade in the lakes was actually Fort Mackinac. So he's coming this way, dropping his last load off here. He takes whatever he can from right here. He might pick up some at smaller settlements along until he gets to Mackinac. Gets to Mackinac, completes his lading, filled up with furs, comes back. Stops at Buffalo, maybe at Erie, depending on what cargo he's carrying. Offloads everything, and returns. Making money in both directions. We are happy, right? He continues going on. While he is doing this, sometimes he operates his business, sometimes he sails with the ship. Dependent. While this is happening out here, the U.S. government decides that we are now going to be at war with Great Britain and her colonies in the Americas. At this point, her colonies in the Americas were Canada. Canada was English at this point, not French. And we weren't happy with him. So we decided we're going to be at war. Great fun, right? This was back in the day before our cell phones, and we could sit in Twitter and Facebook or Snapchat or text it anytime we wanted. Canada actually knew we were at war before the Michigan Territories did. So there's a garrison here at Southern Ontario, Fort St. Joseph. Mr. Williams is with the boat. They have sailed down to Fort Dearborn. They're completing their lading. They're heading back. Sailing to Fort Mackinac. Sailing to the harbor, this large American flag is flying. Good day, right? We drop our anchor, we get ready to pick up our cargo. Our anchor hits the bottom, the American flag comes down, the British flag goes up. 2 longboats of Royal Marines row out and take the ship. Guess what? Friends Goodwill is now British, and it is no longer Friends Goodwill, it is Little Belt. They renamed her. The British were actually quite famous for doing this. They would capture ships, they would take them into the British Naval Service, and then turn them back on the people they stole them from. Happened. They were quite good at it. They ransomed the owner and his crew back to the U.S. Most likely it would have been a prisoner exchange. We'll trade you a British officer for the owner and 2 British seamen that you have in custody for your 2 American seamen. Something like that is how that would have worked. It would have been called a trade on cartel. Pretty simple. Now, Mr. Williams is out of boat. Do we think he is happy? Do we think Friends Goodwill would be a line of battleship? Do we think she would have been engaging in close action with the enemy? No. She's a little girl. She would have been a dispatch runner, a troop transport, and a supply ship. In the perimeter of things, not involved in the middle. So she sails for the British for a while. While this is happening, the American government sends a young gentleman by the name of Mr. Perry, one Oliver Hazard Perry to be exact, to take command of the squadron on Lake Erie. He brings his squadron to Put in Bay and engages the British there. Something that has never happened before happens for the first time. Oliver Hazard Perry engages, defeats, and captures an entire British naval squadron. Shortly thereafter, he pens his now famous dispatch. We have met the enemy, and they are ours. 2 ships, 2 brigs, a schooner, and a sloop. The sloop that he mentions is Little Belt. That was previously Friends Goodwill. What do we think happens to Little Belt at this point? She was renamed back to Friends Goodwill, and the American Navy keeps her. But they actually keep her on contract for Mr. Williams, so they are paying him a small fee for the use of his vessel. And she is doing the same thing. Let us sit down at the table and not lay on top of it, please. Thank you. She is doing the same thing for the American Navy that she was doing for the British Navy. Troop transport, supplies, dispatches. She's actually a pretty fast boat. So she was very good at running communiques back and forth. Everything is going apace until in the fall she is off of Buffalo, New York. She gets blown aground in a gale. Now, getting blown aground is not the end of the world. At this point in time, what we would have done is we would have waited for the weather to abate. We would have taken all the heavy stuff, the ballast, the cargo, everything off the boat until she floated up high enough that you could tow her off. You'd get her towed off, you put all the stuff back on the boat and go on about your day. Not a huge thing. Except for you northern folks have this terrible thing that happens sometime after October. We call it winter. Winter is in fact coming, and she freezes in. So now she is frozen into the lake. Now, the British up here in Canada are very familiar with this event. They march across Lake Ontario, they come all the way down into Buffalo, and they burn it to the ground. Battle of Buffalo, or the burning of Buffalo, you may find in your history books to this day. During this event, they actually burned every ship in the ice at Buffalo. We say this, we don't know if we burned them to keep the British from taking them, or if the British burned them to keep us from getting them out in the spring and turning them back against them. The end result is the same, and all the ships are burned. So, that kind of ends that, right? The original ship is gone. We've never recovered artifacts from her. We know the vicinity of where she sank after her burning, and we've still never been able to find anything. Fast forward to the early 2000s, the Michigan Maritime Museum has decided they want to build a ship that is significant in both history and location. So a ship specific to the lakes that has historical significance to our area. So they start doing research and they actually find out about Little Belt, ex-Friends Goodwill, and that she would have actually sailed this far south of the lake. They do a little bit more research and we find out that Oliver Williams' descendants still live in Detroit. So we reach out to them and we find out that they have some of the original documents from the vessel. They actually have a handbill, an advertisement, passage or goods on consignment from Buffalo to Detroit and points west, $1.50 a bale or barrel, or $12 per person. In 1810, $12 was a significant amount of money. We decided that we're going to build this boat. We work with a gentleman named John Scarano with Scarano Boat Building in Albany, New York. He has built and designed several reproduction vessels that are all historically as accurate as we can be these days. The bigger changes that we actually made were safety oriented. The original boat would have drafted about 5 feet. Ours drafts 8.5. The original boat would have been designed to carry cargo. She's designed to run full. Well, if we run full, there's no place for people, right? So we don't run full, we run empty, and if we didn't have a modified plan for that, we would be a very uncomfortable ride, and the Coast Guard frowns on this. So we draft 8.5 feet with a significant amount of lead ballast below to make sure that we are stable and stiff.
What's draft?
Draft is how far below the water.
Okay.
Now, the original boat would have been what we call carvel hull. Been boards stacked and bent onto the frames with caulking between them, oakum, cotton, and pitch. This is a very intensive thing to have to maintain. Ours is cold molded and laminated. They take very thin strips of wood and lay it onto the frames, and then between every layer of wood they fiberglass and epoxy, and they stack this out. Creates a very light but very stiff and strong boat that is relatively low on maintenance, which means our operational costs go down. Our masts are not single trees, but they would have been in 1810. They're laminated, smaller sticks of wood bundled together and laminated. It gives us a very strong mast, but it's more environmentally friendly because we're not cutting down a 120-foot tree to get a 60-foot mast that is the right shape and length, right? We have a few modern contrivances, like a diesel engine, very handy for getting in and out of the harbor. GPS, radar, radio, all of these modern toilets, all of these modern contrivances that we like to have for safety, but not necessarily would have been accurate in 1810, right? Coast Guard says we have to, and I'm sure that y'all appreciate that we do. At this point, do we have any questions before we board? All right, we're going to go ahead and proceed down to the boat.
You better be sending me those cannon pictures.
I am.
So that's going to swing you around on this.
You're alright. I'll get you if you fall.
You're fine, Daddy. You're fine. I got you. I got myself. Because look how I am.
We're going to ask everybody to stay forward of that mast. That will be forward of this post. We want to make sure that everybody is safe. Swap me sides, Dustin. Alrighty, so now we're going to start this process. We always operate with the assumption that this gun is not in a safe and ready situation to be fired. It may currently be loaded. I don't know this thing, right? We always operate under that assumption. So the very first step is to do what we call searching the piece. And I use this here tool. Does anybody know what this is called? This is a worm. It has two corkscrews on the end of a stick. Remove the top yarn. You notice my hand position is under the weapon and under the tool at all times. If there was anything in there, it would now be on the end of my stick. It is not. We are happy. My hand position is always this way when I'm operating the tool. The reason for this, if it were to accidentally discharge while I have a tool in the barrel, it will theoretically send the tool out and leave my hands in. That is important for me. If we had just fired this, what might there be inside? How about fire, burning embers, unburnt powder? I want to make sure that there is no fire in there before I put another charge on top of it. So Leslie here is thumbing the vent. She is making sure that I don't suck air in and out over a small fire and make it a more fire. Now, I just put water inside my gun. Does water and gunpowder make good friends? So what do I want to do now? Dry it out. Wet sponge followed by dry sponge. Now we are dry. What should I do next? Any ideas? We have cleaned it, we have dried it. Now what do we do? Powder. We need powder. Mr. Beckhoff, can you monkey for me? Yeah. Young gentlemen, you will not stand up right there. That's a bad place to do it. So what Mr. Technology just brought me is a charge of powder. 6 ounces of black powder. Not that super nonsensical smokeless stuff, but a proper charge of black powder. It is wrapped in aluminum foil. Not period correct. In 1810 they used gun cloth. It is a light linen cloth treated chemically to make it burn very clean and quick. It's hard to get a hold of these days, and it's a pain in the tuchus to work with. We use aluminum foil because it is more durable and economical for us. I'm going to put this into the barrel. Now, does this charge do me any good way down here?
No.
How do I get fire to it? Ram it. Aha, I must send it down into the breech. So we take our ramrod here, our rammer, and we send it home. Now you notice again, the hand position. I am below the barrel. I am below the charge. Now I'm going to do a thing that makes very little sense. I'm going to thump my explosive charge with a stick. One more for good measure.
That was 2. Not 1.
Now, I have a charge in the breech. I have compressed this charge. What should I do next?
Cannonball.
Well, the Coast Guard frowns very heavily on me putting a projectile into this barrel. If we were going to be shooting an actual projectile, next I would put in a wad, and then whatever projectile I wish to shoot. Since we are skipping those steps, does it make good logical sense for me to shoot this gun inside of my own boat?
No.
So maybe I should run out my gun? Ready? 2, 6. 2, 6. That's now, I've loaded my weapon. I have run out my gun. What shall I do next? How do I get fire to that charge?
Flint. Flint.
Well, remember it's wrapped in aluminum foil, right? Or gun cloth. We're actually going to do the next step is called prick and drive. Anybody know what this is called?
Holy cow.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is a prick. It is brass or bronze or copper. It is never iron or steel. Why is it not iron or steel? If I strike this against my barrel, I cannot make a spark. Do I wish to make a spark while I am sticking something into my powder charge in my hand?
No.
No. So now I'm going to prick. Now, in 1810, I would have primed this with a very finely ground powder or a goose quill that had been hollowed out and filled with powder. This is not 1810. We're going to use fireworks prick fuse to prime this charge.
You're fine, babe.
Now, this next step is a bit loud.
No,
When
shoot.
I give the word fire in the hole, you shall protect your ears. The recommended method is to take the palms of your hands, put them over your ears and hold them at your head. Never with the fingertips. If you are trying to video this or take pictures, you're going to take a slightly more exotic pose. Something like this.
Very pretty.
Voguing is back.
Voging's back.
I am going to wear my very lovely 1810 ANSI approved Mickey Mouse ears.
No.
Remember, whenever we don't stick our fingers in our ears, if we set our beers down, it is a little bit easier. Fire in the hole!
Man. That was cool.
If I had loaded a projectile into this gun before I fired it, it would have recoiled and slid home for me. We did not, in fact, load a projectile into this charge, so we have to manually haul the gun back in.
My ear is ringing.
How do you think my ears feel, woman?
Same as everyone else's. At least I covered yours, Sarah.
I know, thank you, and I really appreciate it. Woo.
Do we think we are done at this point?
No.
No,
You have to clean it.
Say that again?
Clean it.
Clean up, yes. If I wanted to put another charge in here, I just made fire inside my gun. What should I do? Let's actually, what was the first step we did? We worm it, we search it to make sure there is nothing inside.
Did you cover your ears? Okay, I didn't.
I did.
Yeah, because I covered them for you.
I know, but I covered this one.
And we come out with the remains of our charge.
Nice.
Now, I can take this here wet sponge. Now remember what color it was when it went in?
White. That's black. It was white, yeah.
Now, if I wanted to put another charge in here, does it work well to have a soggy gun?
Nope.
So we now dry sponge. And now I could theoretically repeat this process again and again. A very fast gun crew would have been firing about a round a minute. Their secret, every tool
I'm videotaping this.
person. The worm would have one, the ring would have one, the sponge would have one, the swab would have one. Work in concert. You step in, you do yours, the next guy steps in, the other guy does his. Very quickly. 2 weeks ago, I fired 3 rounds in 2 minutes 19. 2 days ago, I fired 5 rounds in 4 minutes and 20. I say I, the boat, the crew, my lovely hands.
They're pretty.
Ready?
Let's go. saying goodbye to Michigan.